this is Preeti. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is a part of a blog hop for Altenew. This blog hop features their new stamp set, the Paint a Flower Camellia stamp, and you can see the little booklet that comes along with this stamp set. And we're going to use the artist marker pens from Altenew to do some coloring, and also I'm going to show you how to create a faux watercolor effect using your Copic markers. So I've gone ahead and stamped the image using jet black ink from Altenew. This ink is alcohol marker friendly ink, so you can easily use your alcohol markers on this particular what do you call for coloring with your markers, for alcohol markers. Anyway, I'm just blathering there, aren't I? So as you can see here, I've chosen the shades of red to do my coloring, and the reason I chose the red is because I went into the Pinterest and I checked out camellia flowers, and one of the most popular colors for the camellia was a very deep red color. So that's the reason why I chose that particular color. And the camellia flowers itself, the texture of the petals do not have as much variations, or like there's not much of a texture. It's quite a smooth flower, so I didn't really bother making any textural lines or detail lines on the petals. I kept the coloring of the flowers very simple. So basically what I did is I started coloring from my darkest to the lightest color. I put in all the darkest color in the shadow areas, like you can see there, and then I blended that using a medium tone and then a lighter tone and then a really light pinkish colored ink. I always color my colors when I'm using my alcohol markers. I tend to go from the darkest to the lighter. People have preferences. They do from lighter to darker, but I like to do it from darker to lighter shades. And just like the way I colored the first flower, I colored the second flower as well. Now for the leaves, I just chose 3 different shades of green. Originally, I took 4 colors, but then I realized the third and the fourth color were very close to each other, so I skipped that one of them and I just kept it to 3 different shades of green, again going from the darkest to the lightest, creating that variation in the leaves. So keeping the dark color where I think would be the shadows, and of course the lightest would be where the highlights would be. And here I've completed all the flowers and the leaves, and then there are little berries along with this stamp set, and I just used 2 colors of yellow for the berries itself. So I just again laid the darkest in the shadow areas and blended it with the lighter yellow. And once I was done coloring with all these berries, I went with the background. And for the background, I chose 3 shades of brown and then an aqua and also a very light violet color. And I just added that color to the background, that is very close to the flowers. I added the darkest of the blue and then I blended it with a lighter blue, and then the lightest, that is the aqua. The lightest color that I used is almost like an aqua color and not really blue. So what it does is when you use that aqua over the blue, it tones the blue to look like an aqua color. So I didn't want to, I could have started off with the deepest aqua shade, but I did not want that. I wanted the blue to show through that aqua tint. So I just went ahead and added all that color all around the flower, flicking and fading it to the white. So when I'm getting closer to the edge of that, towards the white, I'm just fading my ink, and then just to take away the harshness of the edges, all I did is I just took some blender pen, or the pen that does not have any color in it, and I just went around the edges, just kind of removing the sharp edges. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking this alcohol. This is isopropyl alcohol. It's just the alcohol that you get in your pharmacy, and I am adding it into a small container, and I have a few Q-tips here with me, and I'm just going to dip it into those Q-tips, and I'm going to start dropping that or pushing that alcohol onto the background. And what that does, it wicks away the color from different places and starts pushing and pulling the colors that you have laid in your background, and it kind of breaks down the color, and it starts acting almost like watercolor, and that's what this alcohol is doing, and that's what creates that beautiful faux watercoloring. And then every time you add more, you want to let it dry in between. And then I flipped that cardstock over, and I'm going to do the same thing again, dip my Q-tip in the alcohol and start putting it on that places where I can see the blue part, where the blue is showing through the cardstock. So just in those places I'm dropping the alcohol, and again that's going to do the same thing. It's going to push the color, and I'm going to keep repeating this, and you can do this multiple times. Just keep in mind to let it dry between each application of the alcohol, because it does wet it down a whole lot, and you don't want the blue to start seeping into your red and the green areas. So you want to be careful as you're laying. And now and I'm almost done here, and you can see how beautifully it has wicked away that color and created that faux watercolor effect. Now all I'm doing is I'm taking this white gel pen and I'm shaking it really well. It's a paint pen actually from Posca, and I'm just going to add a few dots all around the flower, just to add some extra textural detail to the background itself. It just adds a little bit of sparkly effect. And then I'm going to take this blender pen, or the pen with no ink in it. It just has the alcohol solution in it. And I'm just going to make tiny circles on the leaves. And what it does, it takes away the colors, and it leaves that round circle, almost making it look like dewdrops. That's the easiest way to make dewdrops on your flowers or leaves, and I really like this technique. Just add a tiny bit of it, and then you add the green color right underneath where you have taken away the color, and that creates a shadow underneath the dewdrop. And that's how easy it is to just make dewdrops on your leaves. And as I was doing this, I was thinking, I should have probably added a few dewdrops on the petals as well. I wasn't thinking. So all my dewdrops, you can see them, they're just on the leaves. Well, that's okay. So that's a very easy method of making dewdrops. I mean, of course, there are much complicated ways of making dewdrops. I'm all about coloring in very simple manner, but having a lot of impact, and this really packs a lot of punch to this color. And you can see the close-up of those dewdrops and the beautiful background that we created, the watercolor background that we created. Now to finish up the card, what I'm doing is I'm taking this large U wood die. I don't really remember which set this is from, but I'll have it in the description box below. And I'm just going to place that in an angle right over the colored image. And then I've also taken an additional stamp from the Camellia stamp set. And I have already gone ahead and die cut the U using my die cutting machine. And now I'm going to stamp that keep going sentiment from the Paint to Flower Camellia stamp set. And I'm just going to place it right underneath that word U, just towards the right edge of the card or the panel. And you can see the die cut that I just cut, and I just removed that U. Don't worry, we will reuse that. I know we did a lot of coloring and we don't want to not use them. So I'm just stamping this using the Obsidian black ink, and I'm going to heat emboss it using clear embossing powder. Obsidian black ink is a pigment ink, so it stays wet a little longer, so you can easily use embossing powder over it and do some embossing. I'm also using an additional sentiment, and this is from the Block Sentiment stamp set, which was released last month. And I'm going to stamp this "You Are Amazing" again using the Obsidian black ink, and I'm going to cut this strip down to size. And then here I've taken a top folding note card, and I'm going to place that colored panel, and I'm going to add a lot of foam adhesive all over this panel. And you want to use a lot of foam adhesive mainly because you don't want any sagging happening, and you want to make sure you're adding the adhesive even closer to where you've done the die cutting. So there are some thin narrow pieces, so you may want you want to really use those foam adhesive in all those areas. And then I'm just going to add a bit of liquid adhesive. I feel like liquid adhesive helps me to wiggle and move it if I'm not straight on the note card, so it just gives me a little time to get everything in the right place. And now I've also gone ahead and cut this U word once more on foam, like a fun foam, and I'm going to place that in that negative space right there, just using my liquid adhesive. And once I have placed that in the place that it needs to go, I am going to pop it up using pop it up with the first U that we cut on the colored panel, and you'll see that in a bit. I'm just trying to get every bit of it into that negative space, and here you can see I'm just going to pop that U onto the foam, the fun foam, and it just adds a little bit of a character to this card, which is very simple by nature, but I'm just adding a few little elements here and there just to add some extra character to it. I had a little extra glue, so just wiping that off, and then I'm just going to place in the positive pieces in those white spaces directly using just glue. So they just they're not popped up, but they are pushed into those wells of the letters. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here. I hope you can see it. Anyway, so that is what I did with the U, and then underneath the keep going, I'm going to add that additional sentiment, "You are amazing," that we stamped earlier from the block sentiment set, and I'm going to pop this up using some of very thin foam tape. And then once it was all done, I added a few little sprinkles of sequences here and there, and that pretty much completed this card. I really hope you liked this video. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it. I also want to say that there is a giveaway celebrating this blog hop on my blog. The link to my blog is down in the description box below, so go ahead and take a peek at that, and hope you will enjoy the blog hop and join in the festivities of celebrating this new release. And here is a closer look of that card. I hope you really enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.